Thanks for the introduction, Kate. Yeah, so this is Coder Dojo Scotland, so let me tell you what I'm going to be talking about today. So I thought I'd give you an introduction to what is Coder Dojo, and specifically what's happening in Coder Dojo Scotland so far. And then I'm going to talk about, okay, how do you make a Coder Dojo happen? What are the things that need to be in place? Then I'm going to talk a bit about recognising achievement in our dojos and recognising that learning. And then I'm going to make two pledges today about how we're going to support digital makers across Scotland. And then be much more informal, we can have a bit of a question and answer session so I can answer any questions you've got about Coder Dojo. So first of all, what is Coder Dojo? So just out of interest, put your hand up if you've heard of Coder Dojo before today. Cool, so quite a few people, yeah. Just out of interest, where have you sort of heard about it, or were you
I've seen it all over Twitter.
Brilliant, cool. So yeah, it's got quite a strong Twitter presence. Has anyone been on the website for the main Coder Dojos, or been on our website or anything like that at the moment? No, no problem. What's that? Okay, so what is Coder Dojo? Well, Coder Dojo is Coder Dojo is a free open learning club where young people come who want to learn about programming their own apps, games and websites. So it sort of sits outside formal education, so it's an informal space where young people who have an interest in technology and learning how to program can get together and learn how to do these things. So when we started our Coder Dojo in Scotland, we identified that there was no sort of place that young people who had a similar interest in technology could go to learn about things like programming and making things. So for example, you already have after school clubs for things like dance or drama or learning how to do things like that, but there wasn't a space where young people who had a similar interest in technology could get together and learn these types of things. So we wanted to set up a space that young people who could meet other like-minded peers in a place that they could be supported by volunteer mentors from technology industries. So our workshops at Coder Dojo are run by mentors from different technology companies, so people who are working for basically a range of companies, from traditional tech companies like Microsoft, Amazon, places like that, financial institutions, small businesses as well. And they come from lots of different backgrounds, but the interest that they share is they want to pass their knowledge on to the sort of next generation, and we do that in our clubs. So Coder Dojo is just as much a social experience as it is an educational experience as well. So yeah, we do teach, and it is part of about the idea of learning. So Coder Dojo comes from the Japanese word dojo, which is Japanese for a place of learning, and it's similar to the sort of martial arts dojos, where you get a group of people who have varying skills in technology and varying skills in a certain discipline, and everyone is learning from each other. So the dojo model isn't a sense of we're the experts, we're the masters, and we're going to teach you. Everyone who comes to a dojo is learning from everyone else as well. So just because we are organising it and it's led by volunteers from sort of mentors who have some knowledge, we all still learn stuff as well when we go to the dojo, and that's part of the fun of it. So, Coder Dojo was also started in Ireland, I should say, in 2011 by James Welton and Bill Liao, and it started to grow in Ireland. And basically the model for Coder Dojo is anyone can set up a Coder Dojo club in their group, their community. They just have to have a few certain things in place. So we decided that we wanted to take that model and start it in Scotland. So last July we started Coder Dojo at Glasgow Science Centre, and we've just been sort of amazed at the response we had in Glasgow. We couldn't fit in everyone that wanted to be part of it. So we started off with having one session every month, but now we had to switch to two. So at the moment we've got between 30 and 50 regular young people from Glasgow coming along, but our waiting list in Glasgow is something like 180 young people who want to be part of this, but we can't fit them all in, so this was fantastic. And what we decided to do is we said, okay, well what we've got happening in Glasgow is really quite interesting and it works. How can we give this experience to more young people across the country as well? How can we take what we're doing in Glasgow and expand it? So around about November last year, we applied to an initiative called the Digital Makers Fund. So the Digital Makers Fund is a partnership between these three companies. So Nesta, who obviously support innovation in the UK, Nominate Trust, so most people probably maybe heard of the Nominate Trust, related to sort of Nominate looking after the domains.co.uk and that sort of side of it. Nominate Trust is the sort of not-for-profit foundation that aims to support technology for good and supports using technology for good things. And the Mozilla Foundation, obviously Mozilla, most well known for Firefox. So they put together this fund because what they wanted to produce was supporting projects that encourage more young people not just to be consumers of technology, so not just passively taking in things like tablets, games, but actually using technology to make things itself. So that's where you get the phrase digital makers, and it can be a wide range of things. So it's everything from programming to 3D printing, but also includes things like filmmaking and animation. In this case, Coder Dojo is more along the lines of computer programming and working with technology like that. So we applied for that funding, and we said to them, if you can fund this project, what we want to do is help start up new Coder Dojos. We already know a model that works. We know how you engage with people who are in that area, how we get the space for free, how we invite young people in, what we do that sort of works well with them. We want to help people start up their own Coder Dojos across Scotland. So we were awarded that funding, which meant that I could actually start working on the Coder Dojo project full-time. So our goal from Nesta was between May this year and next May, we had to set up 6 new Coder Dojos across the country. The good news is we've actually already met those targets, and it's only October at the moment. So, for example, where are we going to be this November? Well, we're in Glasgow at the Glasgow Science Centre. We're in Edinburgh, usually at Microsoft Scotland offices. We're in the Highlands, we're in Nairn Community Centre, we're in Inverness at Eden Court, Dundee Central Library, and Stirling, Creative Stirling, Historic Scotland, and Inverclyde at West College Scotland. So each of these dojo locations has a certain space, has a group of mentors, but what I've been able to do is use some of the resources from Glasgow and go and actually help these things start up so that they actually happen. Because in Ireland the model had been, yeah, anyone can start a Coder Dojo, just go out there and do it. That's a bit sporadic, and what it means is that the quality of the experience might not be the same depending on which dojo you go to. So we wanted to make sure that, look, we've got something that works here, why have this repetition? We can help build this network. So these are where we're going to go in November. We've also got another one in Edinburgh starting in December, and Livingston as well, and Ayrshire, and I can't even count all the places that are starting to open them now, so this is a good thing. So, next up, how do you actually make a Coder Dojo happen? Well, there's 3 things that you need to make Coder Dojo happen. You need space, you need young people, and we need the mentors. So in terms of space, what exactly do you need? Well, you need a room that is capable of holding between sort of 15 to 25 young people. We would say from our experience at the dojo, that's a good number. In Ireland, they've had dojos with like 100, 120 people. I just think it's a bit more difficult to manage, and you don't know what everyone's going to get out of it. Whereas if you've got a controlled group between 15 and 25, everyone's getting a little bit of a better experience, in my opinion. You need to have access to power so people can charge their devices. You also need to make sure you've got access to the internet. And I've also learned that one of the things that you have to ask for is you can't just ask for Wi-Fi and internet access. You have to be really specific and say reliable Wi-Fi with the ability to connect to the internet. Because you've no idea how many places say to us, oh yeah, you can have our space, yeah, we've got Wi-Fi, and then you turn up and they're like, oh, we don't have passwords to get people on, or, oh, yeah, well, we don't know if we can handle 15 people connecting to the internet. So it's important that you're sort of upfront with these things. One of the ways that we're trying to remove that barrier is we also are looking into getting a 4G router so that we can actually just have people going through that rather than have to rely on other people's networks as well. The there's various ways that you can set up the dojo. You can have it in a sort of, well, basically what you don't want is, you don't want it to look like a classroom, so it shouldn't be like rows of people. So sometimes we have small groups, we have bean bags if we can get it in the venue. And the idea is that people are working collaboratively in groups, so they tend to be bunched round sort of tables. You may be seen from the picture earlier in the science centre, we actually have wee lab benches that they can sort of gather round, and our mentors walk between the tables and sort of give advice or see what they're up to. So that's what we need sort of in terms of space. Obviously you need to get young people along. We've never had a problem getting young people along. We always manage to sort of fully book at all the locations. I think that there's a real appetite out there for young people who want to learn these sort of things. So they're getting a bit in school, but they're maybe not getting their, the full potential. They want more of it. And especially for young people between the ages of maybe 11 and 14 who haven't specialised in that subject in school yet, they want more experiences in that. So all of our dojos so far have been able to have been filled up, and our waiting list across Scotland is 480 people. At the moment we're trying to find ways that we can reach more of these people so we can do more things with them. But my advice is, if there is young people in your area and you're thinking about starting a Coder Dojo, there will be an interest for it, and we can help you sort of develop that audience as well. In terms of what's the makeup of young people that come to dojos, well, at the moment, I would say we've got about 20% girls is the rough sort of makeup. So it's better than what you would get for some areas of STEM, but it's not amazing. Half our mentors are female as well, which I think helps in that as well. I would say, in terms of retention rate, the young people that come back, 80% of young people who come to one Coder Dojo come back to another Coder Dojo, and out of everyone who comes back to a Coder Dojo, something like 9 out of 10 go to at least 5 or more when possible. So what that shows me is it's not a thing that people are just sort of coming to once and sort of trying it out. It's something that they're really sticking to and want to sort of progress that way. Young people in terms of age range, overall the whole Coder Dojo movement is 7 till 17, but we find that most of our young people are between the ages of about 12 and 15 in general, sort of high school age, but we've got exceptions to that as well. The young people that come along at the moment to most of our dojos, I would say already have an interest in technology. So they're already into that type of, they like technology, they like computers. They don't necessarily have the digital skills to make stuff for it yet, they've already got an interest. What we don't have at the moment in these Coder Dojos is people who wouldn't normally be involved in digital making. So often these young people are maybe making programs, or they've used technology, they're into it. What we're not getting at the moment is a lot of young people who have never been interested in this, and we're converting them to it. But that's kind of expected for coming to a self-selected computing club. Okay, mentors. So what makes Coder Dojo successful is our team of mentors. So the people who actually volunteer to come along and support the dojos themselves. So although the learning is led by the young people, we're not expecting our mentors to come in and say, well, you have to learn Python, or you have to know how to teach HTML, CSS and JavaScript. We expect our mentors to come along and just be ready and available to support the young people in whatever it is that they're wanting to learn how to do. So sometimes they say, well, what is it I need to know in advance? It's like, well, you don't need to, we're not going to say, well, we're definitely going to be teaching this subject, we're going to be teaching that, you need to be an expert in this. It's more about mentors who are interested in sharing sort of digital knowledge that they have from their backgrounds. And so, for example, some of our mentors maybe come from security and cryptography backgrounds. So they designed a special dojo around creating ciphers and sort of steganography techniques as well, just because that's what interested them. We also have mentors who are from web development backgrounds, so it meant that they were able to share sort of their skills and how they actually do it in the workplace and transfer the knowledge that way. But our mentors are the key to make this happen. In Glasgow, we're lucky that we've got about 30 mentors who have registered as being interested in Coder Dojo. Out of those 30, about 20 of them come on a sort of semi-regular basis, so we hold our dojos monthly. But I would say out of that 20, there's probably about 6 who are really core and will turn up to each one and go beyond that to try and make these dojos successful. And often it's these mentors who are coming to other places like Dundee and Edinburgh and Aberdeen to sort of share that knowledge and help start up the Coder Dojos there. So, a lot of feedback from our mentors as well that Coder Dojo is a learning experience for them as it is as much for the young people as well, because we're learning new things because someone sits down in front of a new language you've never used before and says, yeah, I want to learn how to do this. And then, you don't necessarily know as well, so we're learning alongside them, or you learn from the other mentors who are there as well. So our goal over the next sort of year with Coder Dojo project in Scotland is we want to do activities that support the next generation of Scottish digital makers. How can we make sure that more young people have these digital skills to be digital makers and not just consumers of technology? So how do we recognise achievement in our dojos as well? So there's a lot of learning that takes place, and unlike in a school or college environment where you're going to get a certificate or something at the end, how do we recognise that learning that's going on? So because one of our partners for the project's Mozilla, we've been using Mozilla Open Badges. So has anyone heard of or used Open Badges before? Cool. So basically, Open Badges are basically digital badges that are a way of recognising skills and achievements which can occur inside or outside the classroom. It allows people to display their achievements online or digitally, and each badge comes with sort of metadata that you can prove that you're the person who's earned this badge as well. So some of the companies that are currently using open badges are NASA and Pixar, and now Coder Dojo Scotland as well. So we had a workshop with Doug Belshaw from Mozilla, who's part of the Open Badges team, and he helped us design a set of badges that we could award to our young people. So how did we go about this? Well, we looked at examples of existing open badges that are out there. So there's places like Mozilla who offer webmaker badges which recognise learning how to use HTML and CSS and things like that. Code Academy, who are an online portal for learning as well, they have badges that recognise, I can build something in Java, I can build something in Python as well. But what we wanted to do was make sure that any badges that we designed didn't just copy things that were already out there. There's no point in us providing things that are already there. We wanted to create a set of badges that recognise attitudes and behaviours that were specific to Coder Dojo. So what do you do or learn at Coder Dojo that you're not going to get anywhere else? So what that means is we're not going to produce badges that say things like, I have learned HTML, or I've learned Python, or these very technology or platform specific things. We are creating badges that reflect things that you maybe only get from the Coder Dojo experience. So for example, you might be able to get a badge for saying, I helped someone else debug their code, that idea of a good neighbour badge. The Hello Coder Dojo badge, which is our first badge, is if you attend a Coder Dojo, so if you come and be part of this. Our badges will also be things like, I have presented my work to peers, I have I have published my code open source online. Or you get a badge where I have someone else has used a piece of code that I created. So things that you would only get from being as part of a group. And our badges, although we developed them as the Coder Dojo sort of mentor team, we also got some input from industry as well, because we wanted to say, if someone was coming to apply for you for a job and they had these badges, the possibility of badges from Coder Dojo, what would be interesting to you, what would show things? And they said, well, if someone's got a badge that says, okay, yeah, they've been to college, they've studied this, but they've shown that in their own time they've been part of a coding club, they've worked as part of a group project on something, that they've already had experience of presenting that work to their peers, then that tells them something extra that they're not going to see just from sort of reading it in other sort of qualifications. So, not all the badges are hard to get. as well. So for example, the Hello Coder Dojo badge you get by turning up to one Coder Dojo. You have to be there for once. And if you come back to another Coder Dojo, then you get another badge called Return to the Dojo. But we don't have this sort of idea of it being, well, and then you've been to 10, and then you've been to 50, because it's not really about that. That's only, and that wouldn't work for all our dojo models, because in other parts of the world, some dojos are weekly, some dojos are monthly. So some person could actually get 50, whereas it might take you a long time if you were doing that in the one in Glasgow. So, that's our first badge. It's open to all the Coder Dojos in the world to use, so although we made it in Scotland, any Coder Dojo in the world can award this badge, and we know that it's also been used by Coder Dojos in New York, and someone in Japan apparently got it as well. So, the other thing that I wanted to do today was to make 2 pledges about what we would do at Coder Dojo in Scotland. So we want to help you start a Coder Dojo. We know that we've got a lot of young people who are interested in this area, and we know that we can't fit them all in. And it can't be a case of, well, they'll just have to go into a waiting list. We want to give that opportunity to more young people. So it's my job to help people start up their own Coder Dojos. So what can I actually do to help that? Well, we will make that process of getting up and running with a dojo much easier. So we'll do things like centralise the booking and registration process. So we've already got systems in place that means that you can just say, well, we're going to have it on this date. We'll use our ticketing system to make sure the tickets get sent out, people register, that when people register that they've agreed to sort of things like it's okay for us to take their picture, details, that we've got emergency contact details, things like that. We'll promote your dojo so that people know about it and hear about it, so through things like our Facebook and our Twitter and our website, and also the sort of larger Coder Dojo community. We'll help you solve the technical challenges that we already know exist. So we've had to deal with situations where we've tried to do web development dojos in places where they have no internet access. We've had to deal with situations where people don't have access to computers at all, so how do we help you structure a dojo around that? So we can give you advice on that as well. So if you turn to us and say, we're thinking about doing it in this place, but these barriers this barrier's stopping us, then we can help you with that as well. And because we've already delivered lots of dojos before, we can help you prepare ideas for topics, we can give you sample content, and as best as possible we'll be there at least your first event, so either me or one of the main Coder Dojo team will be there. And often how it sort of works is for the first dojo, our team who've done lots of them now are happy to lead that first session with the idea that you and your mentors will be there to support it, to see how it sort of works, what's the sort of style, how does it sort of feel, so that by the time the second session comes, if possible, we'll be there again, but it'll be your turn to sort of lead it and take it to that next stage. Unlike in Ireland, where it started, where the onus is very much on you to actually do all the work. Well, if you want to start a Coder Dojo, that's fine, but you've got to go out there and you've got to go and do all this. We will help you get to that point, because it's important that once you've done one once, it's easier to do it again. The second pledge is, and this is for school classrooms, we want to help you deliver engaging digital making activities inside the classroom as well. So from our network of mentors and from our experience, we've started to realise that we've got areas that we know work well and that we've created dojo workshops around. So for example, some of the things that we've got are workshops around the areas of web technologies, online safety and security, game development, mobile app development, and coding Minecraft. So by coding Minecraft, what I actually mean is teaching programming concepts like the fundamentals of variables, loops, control structures, but using Minecraft as the platform to do that. What this means is some schools have actually said to us, could you come along and in that sort of dojo style present a workshop on one of these sort of themes in these areas, and that's just to let you know that is something that we're looking at and that we can help you deliver as well. Also, because my previous job before this was with SQA, so I've been able to tie some of these workshops into the new National 4 and 5 outcomes. just because of bearing that in mind whenever we've created stuff for the dojo as well. So that's the kind of main sort of formal side of the presentation over. Coder Dojo is not a very formal organisation in that way, so I'm happy now to chat about any sort of questions you have or sort of tell you a bit more about what we do. Does anyone have any questions?
I was wondering,
Yes.
so a lot of the activities that teachers set up tends to be just teachers running it. I think this is very valuable because you've got industry people and lots of other people involved in it. Will you also help sort of get those connections and help people in industry match up with people who are running it if they happen to be from education instead?
Totally, yeah, because it's, say for example you're a teacher that wants to run an after school sort of style Coder Dojo, it's important that it doesn't just seem like a school classroom, it's got to have that input from a variety of backgrounds as well. So yeah, we're part of the STEMnet Ambassador Network as well, so we can reach out there and get mentors who actually want to work with teachers, to work with the young people in sort of that dojo environment as well. And it has to sort of fit round everyone sort of like, so sometimes the mentors are really keen but they just don't have that inlet, you know, they don't know how they can actually engage with young people, there's not like a set group for them. Well now, that's a way in. Is that sort of answer? Yeah.
Is there a recommended age range that your Coder Dojo does? Is it apply to all kids from S1 to S6, or could I invite P7s?
So our dojos in general are open from 7 to 17, but each individual dojo in their location might decide to specialise in a certain area. So most of our dojos in Scotland are high school age at the moment, sort of like 12 to 17 year olds. But there's nothing stopping you if you wanted to set up a dojo and say, well, we're going to aim for this audience, then you can do that.
I'm trying to invest in young minds, because I'm fed up staring at a classroom of 20 lumpen boys, and quite right. So, no, S1 primary 7. There's not the split yet.
Yeah.
To girls don't do that. So that could even
Get them before they've
yeah.
made that decision. Yeah. Yeah, that would be fine. Yeah. The dojo stuff, the actual material that we use in the workshops, we adapt depending on the audience really as well. So there's certain stuff that works better with that younger age groups, obviously things like visual programming, you know, things like Scratch and Blockly, the Google visual language app inventor, and things like that we tend to use with the younger age group, just because if we try and get them to type things up in Python right away at that age, sometimes it's literally, they understand the concepts but they just can't type yet, or they make mistakes and it's actually more syntax errors than the actual not understanding what's going on, in our experience anyway. Yeah.
I'm a primary school teacher and I work in a tiny school, so I get a lot of opportunities to go into the 2 different classes and do lots of ICT with them, and this is something that I would be interested in. Working in a school, what type of software would you use? Because I'm just thinking of like the local authority kind of...
Stop everything.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking, yeah.
Do you know, that's one of the biggest barriers that we noticed, like when people ask us to come out and do stuff in schools, because sometimes we just can't get the stuff that we need. I would say to do something like that, do you have access, like what web browser and stuff? Is it like a modern web browser?
Yeah, so, well, first thing I did when I got into school was I put Firefox and Chrome and everything. We've got IE8, I've got Scratch and users.
So,
I keep
well,
it as up to date as I can.
Yeah. Well, I would say then, for that age group that you're looking at, using things like Scratch, Google Blockly, which is similar to Scratch but allows you to do a little bit more, and things like App Inventor, they're all web-based. So generally, as long as you've got a relatively up-to-date browser, then you can sort of start working on that type of thing. It's different if you were saying something like, well, I want to build something with a Raspberry Pi using Python, then you'd have to make sure you've got Python installed on the machines. Are you allowed to plug things in? Or, I don't, you know, that there's other issues there. But there's plenty of resources and materials that you can adapt to what's going to fit in that group, and just as long as the websites aren't blocked as well, I suppose. Yeah.
In terms of the sort of activities that you do, what kind of activities you find appeal more to the girls' side that come to the Coder Dojos? Is there a sort of difference in terms of the activities that they enjoy, or is it just in terms of the way that it's sort of presented and done?
I think that, well, we don't do like pink activities.
No, I don't mean that.
But yeah, I think that one of the reasons that I think that we seem to get good engagement from girls and girls coming is we do some things consciously, where whenever we are promoting Coder Dojo, we don't focus on things like games development. We don't try and use language that is specific to boys or girls. We do try and keep it open that way. I think the fact that half our mentors are female as well can help, and it's that sort of environment. I wouldn't say that there's anything specific about the activities that we do that are maybe better for males or females. Someone had spoke to me something about, we don't have a lot of competition in the dojo. We're not saying who can produce the best, who can do this. And I'm not a sort of expert in that area, but sometimes boys can be really motivated by, I want to be building the best one of this, building the fastest thing of this. We try to be conscious about the sort of material and the subjects that we choose as well, and we don't focus too much on gaming, which girls are into gaming as well, but there can be a lot of girls who that would just automatically switch them off. I suppose you're wondering, what do you actually do in the dojo? Like, what is an example activity or something like that? One of the things that we found is a really good way of engaging people is we use a tool called Google Blockly, which is a visual programming language made by Google that they use as part of their interview process, and it's available online, because what we try and convey to them is, okay, you're interested in this area. The real secret of computing isn't the fact that you can type all this code quickly. We're really interested in understanding the way you think about things. And Google Blockly is a series, one of the activities is a maze, where you have to get one character from one end of the maze to the other, and it has a set of instructions like move forward, turn left. And it's a sequence of levels, and as the levels go up, you have to put together the blocks to solve that level's maze. So at first it's quite easy because you're saying like move forward, turn left, move forward. Yeah, you're done. But as it goes on, it brings in the more fundamental programming constructs like, okay, if there is a wall in front of you, turn left. Things like that. So you've got if statements and loops as well, where you're saying, well, you're not at the end yet, keep moving forward or keep following these sequences of instructions. And we find that's good with young people because it doesn't require any of them to have sort of programming knowledge to begin with. They don't feel as if, well, I don't know Python or I don't know Java, so I don't even know where to start. And it actually means that they're using it to solve a problem that's very visual as well, that they can see that they've got to the end of it. And at the end of that sort of session, which maybe takes about an hour, often they're like, okay, well, I get the idea of what digital make and what programming involves. And often, I think it's happened maybe once or twice, where someone's sort of been doing that exercise and went, I'm not enjoying this, I don't really like this, I can't be bothered working out that. It sort of triggers to them, but well, if you're not enjoying this part, which is the problem solving, the understanding how things work, you're probably not going to enjoy programming, because that's what it's all about. So that's one side of it. The other thing that we try and do in our dojos as well is we want to make something, because we're part of digital makers, we want to make something visible as quickly as possible, but without making it look as if you're just throwing stuff together and magic happens. So what I mean by that is HTML and CSS is a good tool because you can produce a website relatively quickly that is visual, that you can show to someone else. But in some dojos, they might approach it in the way where you sort of follow these steps and this is what you get at the end. we want to make sure that the young people are actually understanding, okay, well, why is this working? What is actually going on here? What are the steps that, you know, how are these things sort of going together? So certainly in our dojos, there's a focus on computational thinking as well as just, you know, sort of the education side of it. It's not just a, let's quickly get together and put something together that way. That's quite fun as well, because it means that you can sort of ask them really good probing questions about, okay, well, what happens if I remove this line of code? What would you expect to happen? Getting them to chat about it in pairs, feeding it back to us as well. Because again, it's that social element we want to start. It's not just that they're all sitting working on their projects. They're explaining to someone else how their code works, how a sample bit of code works. It's a bit of the stuff that Quentin was talking about earlier. Peer-instructed learning. Cool.
Thank you so much for that, Craig.
No problem.
What's been quite nice in Scotland is we're starting to get a progression of enrichment activities. So we've got a small number of code clubs, which are for sort of 7 to 11.
I think there's 7 to 11.
7 to 11, something
Primary.
like that. So, code clubs starting up in Scotland, which I'd like to encourage more of. We've then got Coder Dojo just doing a massive rollout across Scotland. Brilliant. And then we've got kind of apps for good starting to come along as well. So there's a nice progression all the way through primary and secondary of enrichment activities that kids can be part of in Scotland, which I think is a fantastic situation.
I suppose then the question I would sort of end with is, what else can Coder Dojo Scotland do? And the fact that we've got this asset where we've got access to mentors, access to volunteers, we've got these dojo networks. How can we help education in Scotland? How can we help computing in schools in Scotland?
Yeah.
Tell me. I'll try it.
That's great, thank you.
Cool.
Brilliant. I think we've got about there's about 5 minutes anyway between sessions anyway, because the rooms are quite separate. So unless anybody has any more questions for Craig. No.
You can come up and chat to me at the end.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So again,
Sorry, it was
Yeah.
just average length of sessions?
About 2 hours. 2 hours. We've done whole day ones as
Yeah.
well, though, to be fair. 2 hours is nice because it doesn't seem too much of a commitment from mentors as well. Again, the mentors are the key. If I'm putting too much responsibility on them, taking up too much time, making it too much hard work, it doesn't become fun anymore. They won't come along, and if you don't have mentors, you know, it's not going to happen.
Sorry, mainly at weekends or some during the week?
At the moment we do them at weekends, but there's a couple of mentors, for example in Inverclyde, who prefer to do it in the evening, just after they finish work. Again, it's what suits them. We're not going to be strict and say it has to occur at this type of place and this time, you have to do this. Be cool, apparently, is the overall rule for Coder Dojo. Whatever we do, we've got to be cool about it.
cool. And there was a tweet from somebody in a different session going, it's great to see how an Irish teenager's dream has just kind of spread across Scotland as well,
Yeah.
of kids coding, more kids coding.
We've even got Coder Dojo people here, not from Coder Dojo Scotland, from some of the team from Ireland are over as well.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, world domination in the nicest way.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Craig.
Cool.